Safe. Obviously, you go.
Mike stuff.
It's about 20 seconds delay. Right, so click on that. Click on that.
Oh, shit. He said, who had
So what you're all seeing is my screen, okay, and it's a recording. So there's about a 30-second, for some of you a minute delay, right? But the point of today is you're going to watch an animator animate now. Okay? So you're going to watch me animate my process for a solid hour. Now, the whole point of this is note taking, right? This will be saved onto a YouTube channel, so you can watch it at a later date as well.
I didn't see him. No, I didn't. I thought you were going back to past that.
Matthew.
What did you just say?
Right. So, right. Do you have headphones on? Plug them into the thing. Yeah. He's going to watch yours then. Right. Okay. Headphones. Then turn it down. Right. Okay. So, can we all see?
Yeah, just
Are you going to discuss what you actually do? Yeah, as I'm walking through it. Also, it's being recorded, so if there's any action you see me do, you're like, how do you do that? You'll be able to go back through the video. Okay. So the first thing I've got is a video that I've taken of me. I'm going to throw a ball. Okay. So I recorded this over there on the Max. So the video is too long, so I'm going to go into Premiere and cut this. Let's just skip in. Something about there. Right, there I am.
This is professional studio to see.
Okay, so I'm just going to find out where I start the throw, which is about there. So I'm actually going to grab the end, these little handles down here, and pull them over to where I start, which is about there, right? And I'm going to edit, cut. But actually, no, I've just deleted the section I wanted. So I grab the handles and pull back. And go to edit, cut. And remember, this is all being recorded, so this is going to be on YouTube after this. And then I don't need that end section either. So I'm going to grab these handles and drag them to where I kind of leave the screen. I'm just going to cut that as well. Okay. Now in QuickTime, you can go to frame number and standard. So I'm just going to press.
I'm one of those. But I got for money.
Yeah. So
Kind of similar. His thing is similar to it's inspired by.
So this is at 30 frames per second, and I've got 1 minute. Right, so that's fine. Right, I'm just going to go into Premiere and just double check that it is 30 frames per second. Right. Now remember, because this is going to be on YouTube, you can slow everything down. Actually, I need to go back to QuickTime and cancel. I'm just going to go to Save As, and then throw reference. I'm just going to save that onto my desktop. Save. Okay, now there it is. Open that up, drag it on, and there it is. Right. So I need to just move that out of the way. I can pull these handles down to kind of zoom in Premiere. I can also control click on that number, and then it breaks into frames. Right, control. I'm now trying to figure out how to make it back into seconds. Okay, so this is running at 24 frames per second on the codec. Actually, no, 10 frames per second, so that's not what I want. I want 30 frames per second. Press OK. So now this is running at 30 frames per second. Right. And there you are. So just control clicked again. I've got 1 second. Right. So control click. So 30. Right. And 1. So I know this is now 30 frames per second, which is a good frame rate for me. And then I'm going to export that. Right. And I want it as a QuickTime file. Right. And I'm going to make the quality 100. And it's got a frame rate that's just under 30 frames per second, and that accounts for any kind of lag that we face. Right. If you've got any questions, please save them to the end. Right. But remember, this is also going to be on YouTube. Say again.
You said you want to then export it as a QuickTime file.
Yeah.
And then
right. So I'm just doing that now. So I'm just going to export as a QuickTime file. Right. So click on QuickTime, and I'm just going to make the quality 100. Right. And the frame rate is 29.97, and that accounts for any lag. Right. So it's just under 30. Right. I'm just going to keep it 29.97, and that accounts for any dead frames, and that's why I keep that. That's right. Frame rate 29.97, so it's just under 30. You'll also notice that there's 23.97, which is just under 24. Right. So yeah. Right. Again, any questions, send them to the end. All right. And then we press, and I'm just going to make sure that's going on the desktop. So I'm going to throw reference 1, and then press export, and then just let it export. Okay, so and then I'm just going to go to my desktop, and then there it is.
So
I'm just going to scrub through to 1 second, and there, 30 frames per second. So I know this is 30 frames per second video. Right now, I've got Stuart in Maya. Okay, and just in case you want how to get that texture on the desktop, or in my downloads, I've got Stuart's body color. and then I've just gone into the outliner, which is there, and then just close these. So you'll see, this is what you'll see, or you might even see that. And I open it up, and I click on it, and I go down. So I know that the texture isn't in that subfolder, it's in that one. So I just keep opening up, and I just keep opening up until I get, there it is. And then over here, right, I press this little tab here, which is the attribute editor. And I go all the way to the right, and then there's his body color. And that little symbol means that there's a file inside there. So we click on that little folder, find the color, press open, and it will refresh, and there's his color. Beautiful. Okay. Now, the next thing I'm going to do, right, is I want to get that reference, right, that throw reference 1, into Maya. Okay. So I'm just going to clear my windows. So I've got not loads of tabs down at the bottom on that one, because I think it's nice to work with less tabs. I'm also going to close Premiere because that's using RAM that I don't need to use. Okay, and then I'm going to create a camera option box. Okay, I'm happy with that. I'm just going to press create, and then down there, inside, in between Stuart's feet, is this little camera symbol. Now I can press F. It's the F key, and that will focus. Right. If I press A, it's the A key. It's all, so it will reveal everything that's in there. And if I press F, it will go to the thing I focused on. So if you've ever gone too far inside something, just press A, bring you out. And if you ever want to focus on something like a joint or a control, press F, and it will focus around it. So A brings me back out. Right. And now, see, I can't really get hold of that camera, which is really frustrating because I know it's in there, I know it's in between his feet, but I can't grab it. So I can go to the outliner, minimize that group, and select the camera in there, press F, and it will bring me back to the camera. Okay. So now I'm just going to scale that camera up so it's a bit bigger so I can see it. So it's kind of in proportion with Stuart. That's the R key, and I press the central yellow square to scale. Bring that back, and then pull backwards. Okay. If I want to see through that camera, I go to panel, look through selected. And now, and you'll see down there it changes. I'll just jump back into perspective so you can see that. At the moment down there, we've got perspective. Select the camera, look through selected. And now that changes to camera 1. Right? And this is my camera now. Okay, so I'm actually in the camera mode. And while I'm in the camera mode, I'm going to go to View, Image Plane, Import Movie, Desktop, Throw Reference 1, Open. And then there it is. Right? And you'll notice, doesn't matter how far I zoom, that image is locked to that camera view. If I go back into perspective, I went to inside the camera, right? View, Image Plane, Import Movie. Right? If you've got any sort of like killer questions, this will be a video on YouTube, so you'll be able to watch it as well. Right? So what I want to do is go back into perspective, and I want to lock that camera so I can't accidentally move it. Right? Because I'm happy with where it is. I'm going to move Stuart, I'm not going to move the camera. So I don't want to accidentally move the camera, because if I move the camera, all my animation is destroyed. And everything I've done will be a giant waste of time. So I do not want to do that. Okay? So I'm going to select all the controls, right click, and then lock selected. Right? So now, if I try and rotate, scale, or move the camera, it's grayed out. I cannot do that. Right? So I'm going to look through selected, and the next thing I want to do is tear off copy. And now I've got a floating panel of the camera view. Right? So I'm just going to put that over there. Right? And I'm going to make this the perspective so I can see Stuart. Right? So in here, this is what the audience is going to see in the at the end result. What the audience is going to see. Right? What I'm going to, so yeah, so in the camera view, I can't accidentally move the camera now because it's all locked, which is great. So the next part is I don't want to be able to see these controls in the camera view. I just want to see what, kind of as much as the audience is going to see as possible. So go to show NURBS curves. In fact, I want to show none, and then just show camera, show, I don't want to show camera, show image plane, which is there, and then show polygons, right? So I've got Stuart there, right? But in here, I've got all the controls. So I'm going to press F to focus on Stuart, right? So I can spin around, look at all my Stuart stuff. So I might even pull that over there, right? And then when I start scrolling through the timeline, right, you can see the reference is moving. Right? So I'm just going to change that to 500. And then you go through, where do I finish? Actually, I finish at like 378. So let's change that to 380. And that to 380. So now I know I've got all of my reference. But actually, I don't start until, actually, that's kind of perfect. So leave some dead time. There, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pause the Hangout there. So think of any questions, and I'm coming back in 2 minutes.
Some people are good at that. Some people are not.
All the people remember December.
Some people
You picture literally all the directions on the map. It's with this near on the same one.
I just find it much as possible. So then you
I knew the whole image movie.
Okay, so sorry about that. I'm going to chop and edit some of this YouTube video when it goes up. Right, so the next thing I can do is I can move Stuart around. Now you'll notice Stuart is not the same size as I am. Right, so I kind of, for the reference, want to get as much as I can, right, from that. But before I do any of that kind of stuff, right, I'm just going to show and turn polygons off, and I'm going to open the grease pencil. Right. And now this is where having a graphics tablet comes really handy. Anyone have a graphics tablet on them? And then because he's not there. Great. Okay. So having a graphics tablet is really handy, right? Because I want to show grease pencil, right? And then I'm just going to sort of blocking out the key kind of points, right? Now you'll see some animators will draw in a different kind of way, in that you'll notice left is blue and right is red, and that's universal on all rigs, okay? Or it should be, right? Right, red, left isn't red, right? Right, red, RR, red, red, right? Left, blue. Okay, fine, right? So right is red, left is blue. So you remember that by right, R is red, R, and left isn't right, so it's blue, right? Because you've got two options. So you'll see some animators, when they're doing this sort of process, will literally draw in sort of a, shit's jumped to red, and their red points, so they know that's the right leg they're looking at, and that kind of structure, right? And then they'll draw the left in blue. Now I've got a limited time to kind of do this, so that would take a bit more time. I would do it if it was if an animation of mine that I was working on, right? So I'm just going to go with green as like a universal kind of in between color, halfway through, right? And then you've got that head, and just pointing where the kind of the top and the eyes are. Those are the kind of the key points I'm looking for, right? And then I'm going to move through, and what I'm trying to find is the extreme points, right? So the next extreme point is that head turn, right? So I'm going to add another frame, right? So the body is pretty much the same, but the eyes, right, and the chin is now looking over there. So I've got that kind of change, right? And the next extreme is that raise up. And what I want to get, I'm going to try and zoom in as much as possible into the timeline. And what I want to, ooh, hello. And what I want to get is exactly where the arm stops raising. No, because there's so many little nuances, like my hand kind of dips a bit. My arm stops, my hand dips. Right, but I'm actually going to use that first point, which I'm going to say that's about there. Frame, let's go with frame 70. Right? 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 And because it's animation, and reference is fine, but it's reference. I'm not copying the photo or the video I'm showing. So I'm actually going to flare that arm out for a little counterbalance. Right? Right? And I've got the legs. And I'm going to curve the spine a bit. Right? Okay, and then I'm going to keep going through that reference. So like, what's the next key kind of bit? So the next key bit is he kind of gives the audience a little like, you know what I'm about to do. Am I right? Right. So what's the extreme? Where does his head stop? As his head stops, like there, right? So I'm going to add.
You can, you get a pencil.
Right.
Paper and you just do some sketches. So one labels, like, so
Nope, don't want the mouth. Chin, top of the head, right? And then I'm actually going to put the arm on the hip, as in like, am I right, guys? Right? And that's why it's reference. It's not, you're not following it frame by frame. It is just, I think I got a little giggle over there. Was that the, am I right, guys? I hope so. I'm going to keep the, and then I'm going to keep moving through. So the next bit is that kind of head turn again.
Well, I like the idea.
Right. So I'm going to whack that on. And then I'm going to drop that arm, as in like it's business time now. Yeah. So again, it's these big gestures, right? And this is called blocking, right? And so you'll see a lot of 3D studios block. So in Blue Zoo, they block, right? So for those that enjoyed the trip, I hope you all did. Right. So the next point, extreme. I'm actually going to say when that hand gets to the top, its highest point, which is about there. Right, so I'm trying to follow right where the arms are, right, and also I'm just going to kick the leg up a bit more and start doing that kind of roll and bring the arms up. Oh, just on the top of the head and the chin, just basic details. Right, and then this is where it gets the devil's in the detail. Right, so you can be like, oh, there's lots of little points there. It kind of goes up and down with his body, and you can really study a lot of smooth motion. Right, so like for example, a lead animator at Disney might do 1 second a week, right? 24 frames in 5 days, because they'll spend so much time on like that little body movement that I'm doing as my body kind of flows and I take in air and I lift my arms to really think about what I'm going to do, right? So I'm kind of, but I'm just going to get the key point. So I actually think that's kind of the up there, right? So again, I'm going to add a grease pencil. Right. My chin's like there. My hands are kind of moved. Right. And now it's that kind of shift of weight. So I put that foot back down to be like, what am I thinking about? And then there's a nice little moment where the hands kind of leave each other. And I'm going to use that as my next kind of extreme. right? And also because it's animation, right? I'm really going to push that arc. Remember how important arcs are, right? So now I'm starting to leave the reference a bit more, right? And I'm going to start to kick that arm out. So it's got a nice sort of arc running through the body, right? Right. Right, and then sort of move the head sort of over there. Actually, he's still kind of looking, isn't he? He's still kind of looking that way. Right. Okay, so now I'm looking over here, the lowest point of this hand. What is the lowest point? It's about, I think it's that frame there. Right, so again, and add a new grease pencil. How do I turn ghosting off? So I don't need ghosting. Right. He's got that ball in his hand. Right. And again, that's nice, but I'm actually going to make that a perfect line as his arm's coming up. Right. And his face is sort of. Right. And I've got some really nice arcing going on. Right, pretty much a straight line in that leg, and that's what's coming down, right? Right, and I quite like that as an extreme, right? So I've got this nice line of action going through. Right, and then the body, there's almost like a perfect line going straight through the body there. And you've got this nice sort of arc like that, right, which I really like. But also I'm using a rig, so I want to really push that. All right, I'm just going to pay attention to the fact that that foot's doing that, and that foot's really locked on the ground. I'm not going to get rid of the reference at any point. I'm always going to have it, so if I want to jump to it, I can. All right, and I'm just using, but it is a reference. Right, now, bit of tummy just there for you. All right, so I actually, because I'm a human, right, I try and not to fall over all the time, right, which is, you know, as humans do. But I'm actually going to push this image a bit more, this kind of there, right? So I'm going to add a new frame, right? So this is where having the red and the blue really comes in handy, because you don't want to get your legs confused. I see a lot of animators really confusing that kind of, oh, I thought it was the other leg I was animating. All right, yeah, it happens, right? And then, so that's the spine, and that's kind of the arm going down and kicking out, right? Right. So that's okay, but that's not a really nice like line of action that I've got there, right? So I'm actually going to get rid of that. Is it I'm hoping they're laughing at the little tummy comment. Where are we? Let's get back to it. That's not right. So foot on the ground, up, hips, and what I'm actually going to do is a really nice smooth line of action there. Right. And then as I scrub through, he kind of goes down. I think that's the next extreme. Right. So that's the nice arc. That's a nice arc. As the arm goes down. Right. I'm just going to keep that foot out a bit more. So we'll see a bit of his eyes. His head. And there's that kind of rest, which is an important pose not to forget, because you might think that actually that's kind of the next extreme, or right. But as the arm's coming up, you want that arm to really pay attention to the fact that arm goes up before it comes back down. Right. So we go to the up pose, which is about there, right? So this is all planning, and this is like the most important bit, right? If you don't plan well, your animation isn't going to be worth anything, right? Right, and I'm just going to make that a nice line of action, and we can see like a little bit of eye. And then as that foot starts to come down, I'm going to grab that first sort of contact point, which is about there. All right. Another nice sort of. Right, and then the arms, probably over there somewhere, and that arm's doing that. See that left foot, my left foot is now locked into the ground, and I never want to go too far forward. Right, so I'm going to grab that. Right. And then have that going down, and that's going down. Right. Now the last 30 minutes has been for nothing, right? Because I've just realised that I haven't set my Maya to be 30 frames per second. Right? So
there's no way of rectifying that.
Let's find out.
Yeah. He's not set the Maya to 30 frames per second. So
All right. So you now see that the right. So
lessons learned.
good. I'm glad the lessons learned. Right. But what should happen is because give me a second. See where the delay is. So you can see how behind it is now.
No. No.
Okay, that's not too bad, right? So I'm just going to go back to settings. Drop that to 24. So now that our reference is back on point, and then I'm going to edit this. I can already see it's just slowed down a bit. So, the big lesson to learn here is settings and preferences. So, quickly.
Is that when you set your frames per second?
Yeah. Actually, there isn't too much delay on that, so I'm just going to go with it, right? Although still not ideal, right? But as you come into Maya, you need to make sure that in your preferences, your settings are set to the same frame rate. Okay? Does that make sense? Good. Right, so as I come from, so I've got a nice little foot thing that I do. So I walk, funny, and I continue doing a hand. And then the nice thing there is I've got some twist going through the leg as that foot starts to come out. I'm still kind of looking at the ball in the distance. So we're almost there. Arm starts to come up. Sort of twisting that leg. That's pretty much straight leg. And I've got that kind of change of hands. So it's that hand coming up for the click. It's the highest point of the hand. I feel quite silly about that, not changing the frame rate, but you know, shit happens. I'm definitely going to edit that out. I'm just getting a rough idea. And as that finger clicks down, right now, can you hear what kind of music I'm listening to? Well, actually, I'm just listening to a studio work, right? Because there's a great. Do you want to know who Hayao Miyazaki is? Studio Ghibli.
Yeah, got all the collection.
Good.
I haven't seen all of them yet, but I've seen most of them.
All right, so I'm actually going to do that foot raise before it starts moving there. So Hayao Miyazaki, who's like an auteur in terms of animation, one of his favorite messages is, and there's a number. If you've read The Survival Kit by Richard Williams, this is also in there. But one of the key messages, right, is your brain struggles to do two things at once.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Right? And so if you try and animate and listen to Slayer or, you know, Linkin Park or 50 Cent or whatever, right, your brain's going to struggle. Because what happens when you listen to music, right, is your brain starts to make a story from the music. Doesn't matter what you're listening to, especially if you listen to a music with a story, right? So let's just go in there, but a nice line of action going down there, right? But the brain really struggles to pay attention to lots of things, right? And music is essentially just noise, right? So down, go to there, right? So, and also when we went to Blue Zoo, right, you notice they all had headphones on, right? That's not to listen to music all the time. Some of them probably were, right? But a lot of the time that's to cancel out noise so they can focus, right? Because the realization that it's hard to think about lots of things at once, right? And it's probably because of the noise that it slipped my mind to change the settings. Right? That's what I'm going to blame. I'm going to blame the noise. Right, I've got the passing pose. So this is basically just turning to a walk cycle. Yeah.
Even if I have to turn off, I'm not necessarily so cool.
Happens. I noticed that there's like a small echo of people that are listening to me in the distance, which is good. Which is good. Right, and again, you basically just got a vanilla walk cycle as I walk off. That just automatically set a key. Do I have to do anything? Oh, that's great. I've been setting right, and then you basically got a vanilla walk cycle as I walk off. Alright, so I won't go through vanilla walk cycles anymore. And then I'm going to show image planes, turn that off, go back to the beginning of our animation, right? Click in here, and then watch it. And then he walks off, right? So now let's bring Stuart back in, right? So the first thing you'll notice is Stuart is not the right size of my reference. So I'm going to go into master scale, and I'm just going to scale Stuart up to be kind of roughly the right kind of size I'm looking for. Let's say 1.2, would that do, right? 1.25, yeah, that's about right. And then I'm just going to start sort of playing around. Right, I don't animate the root control because that controls all of him. Right, once I've got the root control into a place I like, I normally lock. So I can't move it. Right, I normally also lock the rotates. So I accidentally can't animate this because I don't want to animate this. Right, I want to animate these controls. Right, I'm also going to get the image plane out of that because I don't need to see that. Okay, so a good tip if you're rotating around is I tend to rotate around the hip control. This gives a nice rotation. Right. So right. So now I'm just going to go through some controls with Stuart. So you select it, select the bits you want to lock, right click, lock selected. Right. So there are a number of controls for Stuart. Stuart is like one of the main rigs I suggest using for most things when you're doing this kind of stuff because he's made by Animation Mentor and he's really, really good. So you've got foot roll, does that. Right. You've got foot brake, can't remember what that does. Toe raise, which does that. Right. You notice, see that stretch? Right. If I was to grab, right. For this animation, we don't want that. We don't need it. Right. So I'm going to turn the stretch off to match stretch to 0. Right. So then it doesn't stretch. Do that with the other leg as well. Actually, the lowest point is 1. So I can do that. That's nice. Right. Now, some people rotate feet. Right. Whereas some people do something called toe twist or ball twist, right? Or heel twist, right? One thing I recommend is if you're going to rotate, right? And I have this with students a lot. Over the last couple of years, I've kind of said don't rotate, use the twists, okay? But what I will say is if you're going to rotate and that works better for you, fine. But then don't use these, right? Because when you come to smooth it out, it will get really confusing. So either pick doing the twists or rotate it yourself. But again, rotate only has one point it rotates from, and it rotates from the heel, right? But some people prefer that. It's preference, it's workflow. Sometimes directors will be like, just use the twist, don't rotate, right? So I'm gonna move those using the heel twist, right? And I'm also gonna bring Stuart's hips down ever so slightly, so there's a bit of a relaxation on the knee, right? I'm then going to point normally your knees point to wherever your toes are. So a good rule of thumb is if you're in the top view, aim the knees to where the front of the feet are, and you probably have something that looks all right. Yeah. Next Friday. Yeah. Do you want his email address? Yeah. Give me So it's Derek Andrade at live.com. Yeah, all one word. Yep, give me a second. Yeah.
Have you really popped it now? Oh, I think you asked it.
And then do you want Michael's? Academic.
That was a game face. It's a simple question. It's on Sunday. It's so quick that it takes a lot of time.
Oh, you get it right. So is it nothing you want it?
I don't know. It might be.
No. Why?
Now we'll quickly try and.
Sorry?
Yeah, take it. Then I ask you, like,
He hasn't got back to me yet.
Jefferson.
But when he does,
Just tell him if you can tell him. Well, it's better if you can do 2:30 slots.
I'm sure that will be fine, but I'll double check. Okay, right. So at the moment, he's got some sort of like old man stand to him, right? So I need to like move those feet out a touch. So he's got less of that kind of going on, right? Remember, I don't care what I see in this screen. It's only what I see in this screen that matters, right? So,
you're going to keyframe.
sorry,
You have to keyframe.
I haven't set any keyframe yet. I'm just setting the initial pose.
Oh,
It's the first thing the audience is going to see. I don't want to see manipulators. I just want to see curves and polygons. Right. What am I selecting there? Right. So, actually, no, I do want to see manipulators, my mistake. So I'm just going to move that out. Okay, right. And then you've got a few options in terms of rotation of hip, right? So I could rotate him like that, or I could grab this control and rotate him like that. Right, so you notice that doesn't have a massive effect on the upper body. It's just the lower body, right? And then I want to ever so slightly start to bend all of his body into that kind of like pose, right? But his chest, I'm just going to start leaning the opposite way for a bit of counterbalance, right? Now, there's various things that you can do with Stuart, which is pretty cool. Now, one is the resolution. You've got proxy, low, and high res. So I just tend to work with proxy because it's really the basic things I'm seeing, right? And normally, right, I'd animate the legs and the torso first, and I just leave the arms alone. Okay, so we go back to frame 1. Right, and I'm just focusing. So I'm actually going to reset the arms, and I'm not going to touch the arms. Right, I'm just going to focus on this part. Now, what you can do is if you don't even want to see them, right, you can go through, let's find the geometry, right, and I'm going to go through, so I don't want to see the neck, right, I'm going to minimize that for a second. Right, so I can increase transparency, but that does in all, so I don't want to do that. I just want the neck joint. Where are you, neck? Where's visibility? Okay. Diffuse, because it's a different texture. So what do I want to do there? I wonder if I can pause Hangout. If I just press stop, will that just stop? Right. It's a learning curve for everyone, this screen sharing stuff. Let's think about how would I make that transparent. I know, right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the bits I know I don't want to have to see. Right, so that's that, not that, not that. Zoom out of touch. Right, and then add those to a layer and get ready. I've beheaded in very quickly. So you can see those. All right, so I don't want to see actually this whole part of him. And this part as well, it's good. It's worked out quite well. Because actually I get more confused and I'm a human. And what humans do is we find errors in things really quickly. Right? And so if I can't see it, I won't mind it. Right? Out of sight, out of mind. Right? So I'm just gonna add the selected objects, right? And I also don't need to see these controls. Right? So I'm going to shift, drag all those, and then add selected objects. So now I've only got the bits I really want to see. Ooh, missed one. Okay, right, there we go, cool. And then let's go in Photoshop. Let's bring that back up. Cool. So now, so where's my, there it is. Right, so I like that body like that. Right. So I'm going to grab those, right, go to frame 1 and keyframe them. Right. You'll notice, drag this back.
20 seconds.
Right, and press auto key. Right. So I animate predominantly with auto key. Right. So that means whenever I move, so if I go to frame 10 and start moving the foot around, keys it automatically. Right. But actually, I'm going to move through to my the next, which is around there. Right. So frame 36 is actually a head turn. Body doesn't really do anything, but I'm going to put a key on there because I might do something with it later. And then let's go back. So the next one is so that's that where he moves, right? So here I'm going to select everything, right, and press S, right? And he doesn't really seem to do much of anything, but I am going to actually move a bit more of his weight onto that other leg, just as if he's shifting the weight to counterbalance his arm, right? As his arm goes up. Bless you, Richard, for looking over there. Right, so I'm just going to put a bit more of the emphasis on that leg, right? And shift that ever so slightly. So just little touches at this point, right? And this is the blocking phase. So there's no animations happening yet, right? So let's go, and then there's that. And then on this frame, I'm going to have a shift back over onto that leg. As he's like, so he's basically going, am I right? I'm gonna do this, right? So he's shifting his weight over onto that leg, right? And then rotate it in, right? And then, right? And then the beautiful thing about this is all going on to YouTube. So they can watch all this later. They're listening down there, if they're not close enough, and they're watching, right? So there's like a 10-second delay. And then afterwards, while they're watching, there's little buttons at the bottom so they can highlight bits they like, so I can see the bits they really enjoy. And I can also edit and change it.
No, I want to know how you do it.
Oh. Right. So, and then I'm going to start shifting that body weight ever so slightly over, Anna's not going to see anything exciting. I think she's coming to something exciting.
So is he drawn that?
Actually, so see that I've moved the body too far over, right? Because you don't want to break reality. Because he's still got a chest, right? So he's not doing like that, right? He's still sort of like doing that. So it's only a little bit. So that's too dramatic, right? So I'm just going to start moving that back, right? Like that, right? She's behind me. Right. Okay. So also you'll notice when I click on this window, the grease pencil disappears because the grease pencil isn't on the perspective camera, it's on camera 1. Okay. Another quick thing you can do is if you're like, well, what's camera 1? I'm confused. You can go in and you can rename camera 1 to shot cam, which is what's meant in a lot of studios. It's called shot cam, right? So if you're looking for the camera that your shot needs to be in, it's probably in shot cam. Right, and then I'm going to have him sort of like move his body a bit more over, right, and start to rotate things back onto that leg. Right, and as he lifts, so he's starting to be firm now. Like, this is action time, guys. I'm going to throw this ball, okay? Maybe not too much. Maybe that's enough.
Very sidetracking, aren't you?
Actually, I've added a frame there on 111, which I don't want. So I'm just going to delete that frame. Just want a big block movement. Okay, so click on that. Go back to my next keyframe, which is over there. Right? And then he seems to really put a lot of pressure on this leg and start to lift this leg. So I'm going to start to move over.
You don't, Andre. You know what he was doing? With the legend.
Right. So again, I'm not using the rotates, I'm using the twists and the taps. So I don't want that raise. He's going to raise his foot up like that. No rotates. And then look at the heel twist I've been playing with a lot. Right. And then like, so obviously my legs are a lot longer than Stuart's. I'm 6'3". I imagine Stuart's about 5'10", 5'11". Okay, so you've got to kind of allow for a little bit of difference in the reference, and that's why we're not following the reference like it's gospel. All right, we're just using it as reference. All right. So, and then that foot comes back down, right? So move that weight back over, bring that foot back to earth, bring that toe raise down, right? And that's sort of on the ground now. I might even sort of twist it back in and touch, right? But it's back on solid earth, it's back on the ground, right? And I'm going to move those hips over slightly. When we throw things, right, this is the thing, because I recently cut my foot open, right? I did some research into muscles in the foot, because it hurts when you cut your foot open. You don't believe how much blood's in there until you see it all. So what you probably don't know is how much you're using your big toe right now, right? As you're kind of repositioning your body, you're using your toe as a balance, right? Let's just start rotating that over. Okay, right. It's also starting to move that way a little bit as he starts to reposition his body. Now, believe me when I say I'm animating way faster than I normally would. I normally take a lot more time on those first initial frames, but we've got an hour, so I'm trying to sort of slot in as much as I can in the time, right? Okay, then that. Let's grab that. And let's bring that up. So I wanted to get to that kind of pose. That looks disabled. Let's bring that knee out and touch. Right, remember, I don't care, right, if the audience can't see how far his leg's out. It's all about this screen, because that's all the audience is going to see. Right? So I can pull that forward a bit. Let's play around with that. It's all like this screen. The audience is only going to see this. They won't see that he looks a bit weird from this angle or that angle or whatever. Orbit. Oh, that's because I've lowered the proxy of the mesh. So if I can take it back to high, it becomes a high proxy. Okay. So, and then let's go to toe tap. I was looking at earlier. No. Foot raise. Foot raise. There we go. So I'm just going to raise that up. Bring that back down. Right. And then now I want to start moving that around and raising that up to get a nice line of action. I'm also going to grab that knee, start bringing it over. Right, because it's all about the support mechanisms he's got going on. Right. So let's. Okay. Maybe a touch more that way. Okay, right, I'm liking that. Just gonna keep it. Okay, so now he's really bringing that foot up. Right, let's grab that knee control. And it's almost in front of us. Never want to lift it up, just want to move it left and right, because I don't think he's moving his body left, right? And then start going through. This is kind of what animation is, kids. Slowly, slowly, catch your monkey. Right. Bring that up a touch more. The fact that I'm recording this and you can watch this later is so cool. Sorry, so cool. Didn't know, did I? Right, and then it's bang on the ground. Right, so then I want to put that over there, grab that, start moving that over. I'm going to reset that to 0.
You're going to do the twist of the actual waist?
Yeah. No, I'm doing that now.
Oh,
right. So you can see I'm kind of breaking him a bit, right? But I'm just trying to get the right placement of it. Right. I might just have a look at my reference, see more of his back than I'm showing. Okay, so more of his back on the go, right? And then I'm going to bring that leg over there. Ooh. Bring that knee forward, touch. Right. So that foot is the down foot. Oh, where's my... So that foot can go no lower than Y, because Y is the ground. But it could move in X and Z. So I'm going to move it in... Then start doing some twists. Right. Should do those and the toe raise. Right, sweet. And then ball twist. Is it because I'm saying ball twist, boys? Ball twist. Enjoy that. Enjoy that. Ball twist. Ball twist. Twisting. At the moment, I'm just twisting his balls. Sure. Okay, and now we're starting to see a bit more reality, what we actually want to see. So I know that I need to do some foot roll, bring that foot up, and then some ball twists, not ball twists, sorry, heel twist, to other way, other way, other way, and then we're getting that, there we go, that's what we like. See that foot roll, is that George laughing at ball twist? It is, isn't it? Couldn't help myself. Giant kid at home. So now I'm starting to get what I like. There was a moment where he was like a monster. So I'm actually going to push that back a touch. So it's a bit more in line. Over a bit more.
Not so much doing out another one of those.
Someone's still laughing at ball
No,
twist.
let me just show you.
Good for them.
So you was getting paid. It would be paying for the hours you put them in.
Right.
You're not doing what's
So I'm starting to really start to look at that spine.
So if you
Where is
make
it moving to? Right.
that long,
Now, what we're doing here is literally what they're doing at Blue Zoo, like an hour away.
Bob Marley's going, just initially, and then start doing it. So
Right. So if you enjoyed work, if you like the idea of working in that kind of studio, in that kind of environment, this is what they're doing.
What's them?
Yep.
Two.
Yep.
The thing is,
Right. They're just playing with curves, moving lots of curves around. Oh gosh, I'm moving way quicker. I'm moving way faster than they would. Right? So like, they might spend, so I've just gone through from 0 to 220 frames. That's like that's 10 seconds. There's no way they'd block out 10 seconds in less than an hour. You might block in a second in an hour. You spend a lot of time really getting the detail right and refining, going through. I'm just doing this to show the speed of it. Right. So let's have a look at what we've got so far. So I'll turn off the grease pencil, and remember, if you press play here, this is not a true representation of your animation. What you're seeing isn't the actual thing, right? Also, I've got spline turned on, so we just need to go through quickly and turn spline off and just make that stepped. And then let's go back through. Right. So when you press play here, you're not seeing a true representation of the animation. You're seeing Maya's frame rate as fast as it can do with the RAM. So you need to do a play blast. Right? No, when you press play, it's not real time. A play blast is real time. So then we're going to go through.
I don't know what else.
Yeah, that's my only critique. But it's not so in your face, is it? Go on, go ahead. Not in blues.
How much do they get paid at Blues? Give me a second. Okay, so for an hour, I've got that. Okay, but actually that's way more than I'd expect to have in an hour. Okay, so because you're working 7 hours a day, 5 days a week in animation, right? How much do they get paid? They get paid for exactly how many years they've trained, how many hours they've put in of their own time to learn all this sort of complicated stuff. So there's lots of things to think about. So a junior animator, Jesus, you're not leaving it, are you? A junior animator might get 25 to 30 grand a year. Yeah. A lead animator might get 60. A director might get 80. Yeah. So like, if when we were on the Yeah, but animation makes millions through merchandise. So like Blue, I'm gonna stop it there. So for example, Blue Zoo, just gather around you two. Come here.
25 square feet.
Right. So Ben 10 or Tree Fu Tom, right? Sorry, I know it looks like Tree
25 feet.
right? Might be less, might be more. Should be. Right. Tree Fu Tom. So this is one of the animations they work on. That's it there. And they make a lot of money through merch deals. So like they'll make way more money through merchandise than they will the animation itself, right? And there's pages and pages of this stuff. It's not.
This is no, just the camera. So
It's just the camera. I'm just turning it off it. I think. Oh no, it is still recording.